No. Very good morning, everyone assembled here. It's my proud privilege and honor to welcome all of you for this 6th Cho Ramaswamy Memorial Lecture by Mr. Shri Dushyanth Sridhar. Before we start the program, we invoke the blessings of God. Once Lord Tennyson said, "More things are brought by prayer than this world." So prayer is always powerful. Let us all stand up for the prayer.
मैत्रीं भजत अखिल हृजेत्री मैत्रीं भजत अखिल हृजेत्री आत्मवदेव परानपि पश्यत आत्मवदेव परानपि पश्यत युद्धं त्यजत स्पर्धा त्यजत युद्धं त्यजत स्पर्धा त्यजत त्यजत परेष्वक्रममाक्रमणम् त्यजत परेष्वक्रममाक्रमणम् मैत्रीं भजत अखिल हृजेत्री मैत्रीं भजत अखिल हृजेत्रीं जननीं पृथिवीं कामदुःखास्ते जननीं पृथिवीं कामदुःखास्ते जनको देवः सकल दयालुः जनको देवः सकल दयालुः धाम्यतदत्त दयत्वं जनता धाम्यतदत्त दयत्वं जनता श्रेयो भूयात् सकल जनानां श्रेयो भूयात् सकल जनानां श्रेयो भूयात् सकल जनानां श्रेयो भूयात् सकल जनानां श्रेयो भूयात् सकल जनानां
Thank you, Srinidhi, for this beautiful rendition of Shastra's invocation song. I don't know how many of our students are aware of the significance of this song. When our India's Nightingale, Dr. M.S. Subbulakshmi, when she visited first time the United Nations, she asked Kanchi Mahaperiva to the sound was there. Welcome all of you for this 6th Cho Ramaswamy Memorial. I think some repetition, right? Stop. Shri Dushyanth Sridhar. Before we start the program, right, we invoke the blessings of God. Okay. No things are right. Sorry. Even though human intelligence is great, technology plays its own role. It remains I am also great. Okay. So when our Dr. M.S. Subbulakshmi went to United Nations for the first time, she asked then Kanchi Mahaperiva, Sri Chandrasekhara Saraswati Shankaracharya Swamigal, to write a song to sing in the United Nations Forum. And this song was written by Kanchi Mahaperiva. The essence of the song is that there should not be any war. All over the world, wherever the people are, they should all live happily and prosperously. We are all like brothers and sisters. That is the essence of the song. And our student Subhashri beautifully sang the song. So congratulations to her. And now let me welcome Professor S. Venugopalan, the professor of Department of Sanskrit, a renowned scholar with 30 years experience in Sanskrit. He not only teaches Sanskrit as an expert in Vedas and other things, and she is also a teacher in German language also. And many other things he is doing. And I'm very, very happy to invite Professor Venugopalan to deliver the welcome address.
गुरुर् ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. सदाशिव समारंभां शंकराचार्य मध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्य पर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरु परंपरां. Suprabhatam, one and all present here. We are here today to perpetuate the memory of Swargiya Shri Cho S. Ramaswamy through this lecture program being organized by our Shastra University at Tanjavur. This lecture is going to be the 6th one in a row, and we are very fortunate to have Shri Dushyanth Sridhar Mahodaya to deliver this lecture on the topic Bharata, an amalgam of knowledge and arts. Yes, the idea behind this topic was very close to the heart of Swargiya Cho S. Ramaswamy, as he was always a true Desha Bhakta and Deva Bhakta too. Though he was into films as an artist to don various roles, mainly as a comedian, he was in personal life a very serious person, but witty in his words. That's why he forayed into journalism to speak the truth, to prevail over the society, to make it stay on the path of dharma. His magazine, Tuklak, Tamil Weekly, was very unique in various aspects, especially on speaking the truth and being equipoised in its views in commenting on political developments, both at center and states. Shri Cho never took any particular side, be it right or left, in commenting on political developments. He stuck with truth and truth alone, and was very keen on speaking what is good for the society at large. These characteristics of Shri Cho were deeply ingrained in him due to the vast knowledge that he gained through reading of various scriptures of our Sanatana Dharma. His serial Hindu Mahasamudram, Mahabharatam, etc., published in his magazine Tuglak, reflected his deep understanding of our dharmic system. That's why the topic of today's lecture is very important important one for all of us, while remembering the legacy of Shri Cho S. Ramaswamy. Yeah. Bharata, our Desham, is very unique in its outlook itself. The word Bharata itself reflects its uniqueness. Bha in Sanskritam means light, which is metaphorically referred to Jnanam, knowledge. Rata is to denote the one who is desirous of acquiring that knowledge. In total, the word Bharata means that teaches the real truth of that teaches the real truth of this universe. The truth of this universe is revealed in our Vedas. The very word Veda represents knowledge. The Sanskrit root vid means to know, vida jnani. The ideas of our Vedas are represented by all other scriptures like our Dharma Shastras, Itihasas, Puranas, Kavyas, Nalayira Divya Prabandham, Panniri Tirumuraigal, Tirupugal, etc., etc. The Vedic injunctions like Matra Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava, Atiti Devo Bhava, Satyam Vada, Dharmam Chara, all these are These are the ideas of our Vedas that shape basic human values practiced by all Bharatiyas from Kashmir to Kanyakumari and Kashi to Rameshwaram since the creation of this universe. We had Rama, son of King Dasharatha, representing all these virtues in this land several millennia ago and immortalized him as an idol and idealized him as hero for all our Bharatiyas. All our scriptures had taught us Ramavad Vartitavyam, Natu Ravanavad. One shall live one's life emulating Rama, not Ravana, as Rama stood for Dharma, whereas Ravana represented Adharma. The essence of Vedas is reflected in our Dharma Granthas. Any book you may take, Dharma would be the central point of discussion. Today, we are going to hear in detail about all these things from Shri Dushyanth Sridhar ji in his own inimitable style. Shri Dushyanth is joining the elite club of speakers who had delivered lectures in previous years on the same banner. We had Shri T.S. Tirumurti, former diplomat representing Bharatam in United Nations, and his recent speech in UN Security Council would be remembered by all for its sharpness and exposing the double standard of all big nations with reference to their handling of various issues, especially on checking terrorism. Dr. Bibek Debroy is a well-known economist currently serving as the chairman of Economic Advisory Council to Prime Minister of India. His book on Mahabharata was well received by all. He was member of Niti Ayog also. Then Shri S. Gurumurti. Gurumurti is a well-known figure all over India. He is a CA by profession and a staunch devotee of Kanchi Shankara Matham. He is currently continuing the legacy of Cho Ramaswamy by being the editor of Tughlaq, Tamil Weekly, started by Cho Ramaswamy. He is part of the think tank that assists our Prime Minister on various issues in taking his decisions that are helpful to the society at large. Shri K.E. Sitaram is a well-known figure in the field of drawing public policy and was part of Asian Development Bank and has authored several books on public policy. Ms. Padma Subramaniam is a Bharatanatyam artist, a well-known one all over the world, and a research on 108 Karanas depicted by Bharata Muni in his Bharatanatya Shastram was well received by all practitioners of Bharatanatyam. Recently, she was conferred with Padma Vibhushan also. Earlier, she was Padma Shri and Padma Bhushan. We are really proud of our beloved Dushyanth Sridhar ji joining this elite club, and I offer him, and of course, all of you, a warm and hearty welcome to this program. Swagatam, Swagatam, Swagatam. Let me introduce him also. We call him DS. He is fondly called by all the members of the society who is very closely known to him. DS, renowned scholar in various subjects related to our Sanatana Dharma. He is an alumnus of BITS Pilani. He is one of the most sought after speakers in our Sanatana Dharma in today's society. He delivers his discourses both in Tamil and English on various scriptures like Ramayanam, Mahabharatam, Divya Prabandham, Sri Vaishnavism, all these subjects. He has delivered so far 3,500 Upanyasam all over the globe in 23 countries. His YouTube videos have hit 100 million views. 100 million views. He joins on TV shows as a panelist in almost all channels on matters related to Sanatana Dharma. His Abhinava Patashala had taught 7,000 members during the lockdown COVID time on Sanatana Dharma. He has produced and directed Shakuntaram, a Sanskrit movie, and acted himself in that film. He has also acted as Shri Vedanta Deshikar in a film called Vedanta Deshikar, and he has also penned the story and dialogues. He has organized many heritage tours with 3,000 yatrikas in last 9 years' time. He has much more to his credits, and I seek his pardon for not adding many of them in the list. Last but not the least, he is the Shishya of many scholars And one among the scholars was my Guru Srivat Sangacharya also, who taught me Panini's Vyakaranam and Patanjali's Mahabhashyam in late 80s. So we both become Satirthyas in a way. So once again, I offer him hearty welcome and all of you. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you, Professor Venugopalan, for very nicely introducing about late Sri Cho Ramaswamy as well as the speaker of the day. Without much ado, I would like to request Professor Venugopalan to honor our chief guest with a memento. So may I now request the most awaited lecture from Shri Dushyanth Sridhar, the renowned scholar. Thank you.
स्वतसिद्धं शुद्धस्फटिकमणि भूभृत् प्रतिभटं सुधासध्री चीभिर्द्युतिभिरवतात त्रिभुवनम् अनन्तैस्त्रय्यन्तैरनुविहित हेषा हलहलं हताशेषा वद्यं हयवदन मीडी महिमः. A very good morning to the August gathering. A matter of great delight to be in one of the finest universities in our Bharata Desha, which is Shastra. My obeisances to the chairman, to the vice chancellor, to the members of the teaching and the non-teaching staff, and to all those who are present here. Kudos to Srinidhi for having rendered the invocation, and to Dr. Badrinath for being so cordial and hospitable, and to Professor Venugopalan for being so courteous and lavish in his comments. I may not be completely worthy of it. Nevertheless, he was quite magnanimous in presenting it. So, thank you once again. So, of course, I am going to speak, which is a lecture that is commemorative of a personality who dominated the journalism space, the space for critiquing, the space for presenting his views in a very different way that was very, very inimitable to his own self, Shri Cho Ramaswamy. Wherever he is, wherever his Atma is, whether it is in the realm where it can't come back or whether it's loitering in this sphere, I'm sure through its Karanas and Indriyas, it must be listening to the lecture. Thank you so much for having invited me to render this lecture. The topic says Bharatam or Bharata, which is an amalgam of knowledge and arts. So, we have now got into this marginalization of what is knowledge and what is arts separately. Would like to begin with a small anecdote. When I say anecdote, it's not from my life, it's not an aitihyam, it's a part of our itihasas and the Puranas. So there is this macho called as Arjuna, very, very well trained, and most women had his posters in their rooms and they just wanted to marry this man. Such kind of a loved person he was. This Arjuna was the middle amongst the brothers of the Pandavas, the sons of Pandu. And they had a lot of ups and downs. He lost his father at a very young age. He lost his stepmother Madri as well. So all the 5 sons, I'm sure some of you or most of you will be at least acquainted with the basics of Mahabharatam. So the 5 children, the 3 sons of Kunti and the 2 born to Madri, were left to the custody and the guardianship of Kunti herself. So she was widowed. She had to be the custodian of 5 children. And in the due course, they had to come back to Hastinapura, which was the erstwhile capital of the Kauravas. So it does so happen that they had a perennial, perpetual tiff with the sons of Dhritarashtra, and they didn't gel well. It did so happen that Duryodhana had vicious thoughts and he wanted to kill these people some way or the other. So they erected a palace with inflammable materials and they planned to send all these people. And Duryodhana extended a very courteous invitation stating that I would love my brothers to go and have a lavish stay at this resort. And these 5 brothers were flabbergasted because Duryodhana has never had nice words to say about them. And you get such a wonderful invitation from a person who says, Kattayama ninga poi tangano, there's something wrong. So, in the art of speaking, not every comment needs to be construed in a straightforward manner. See, it's an art to even decipher how to take in comments. For example, you go to a private function and somebody just calls you and says, and introduces to the other person. Now, Tarapati cholindrindene, rumba nallavar navardan ivar. So in there, you should not take those comments at face value. You know that there are certain levels and, you have to read between the words, between the lines, between the paragraphs. When Vishwamitra barges into the court of Dasharatha and says, here I've come and seeking your help. And Dasharatha was a king who used to promise in haste and repent in leisure. So he used to promise, commit anything. And then he used to worry, why did I even commit? That shouldn't be the case for most of you who are present for the lecture. You're present for the lecture and later you go repent, why was I there for the lecture? So I shouldn't, as a speaker, I shouldn't leave you with such afterthought thoughts. Nevertheless, so then Vishwamitra comes, he asks Dasharatha, and Dasharatha says, sir, I will give you whatever you want. And then Vishwamitra made a very decent statement. He said, Swaputram Rajashardulam Ramam Satyaparakramam Kakapaksha Dharam Veeram Jeshtham Me Datumarhasi. I now seek that son of yours who has got curly hair tresses that are curly enough and come near the temple locks. These are the temples. So, there's an art. I'm sure some of my friends, the sisters here can relate to. After you comb your hair, you take one strand of hair, you roll it and leave it near your temple locks, right? You comb it really well and finally this happens. And this is called Kakapaksham. In Sanskrit, this was the fashion of those days. And men used to have long hair too. So they were competing with women and they used to leave those temple locks. And Rama was a fashionista of those days. So he didn't have to wear the Prada to go to France. So, and neither was he the devil. So the devil never wore the Prada, but yet he carried such fashion with ease. So he had Kakapaksham. So this Vishwamitra comes and says, Kakapaksha dharam veeram jeshtham me datumarhasi. He doesn't even say, give me Rama. He says, give me that son of yours who follows the fashion of these days where he lets the curly hair tresses flow between the temple locks. That very moment, Dasharatha has a low BP and he swoons on the floor. And then they sprinkle some droplets of Bovonto, which is quite famous in this district. So, and then this man wakes up. And to the surprise of everyone and shock of everyone, they ask, why did you even faint? He said, you could have asked for me. You could have asked for me. Dasharatha, you come. You've asked for my Atma. My son is like my Atma. And Vishwamitra tries convincing him every way possible that, no, you have to send your son. But Dasharatha plainly, flatly refuses. He says, I'm not going to send. That is when finally Vishwamitra gets really perturbed. He gets angry. He says, I am leaving this court. Mithya pratignaha. You have promised and you do not know how to fulfill your promise. It is such a waste and a useless tinsel to even stay in the court of that person. And he leaves. And then Vasishtopi Mahatejaha. Vasishta intervenes and says, see, don't leave like this. First of all, you have not achieved what you wanted. Don't waste your energy now. I will get Rama for you. Dasharatha, even after Vasishta has insisted, says, no, I can't send my son. He's the apple of my eye, orange of my throat, all of that. And he doesn't send. That is when Vishwamitra says, Sukhi bhava suhridvritaha. You stay happily with your family. This is what he says. Sukhi bhava suhridvritaha. So if you're not adept or talented enough to decipher the nuances of speech, Asirvadam manit porar. No, he was actually cursing. Nanna iru. That nanna iru sukhi bhava suhridvritaha. So when Dhritarashtra's sons told Pandavas, please come and stay in the palace, there was something within that. So these Pandavas were a bit wary. They were thinking, is this Duryodhana or is he a body double like animal? You know, you had a body double there. Ye kaun hai? So, as they went to the palace in Varanavartam, they go to Varanavartam, and finally the palace gets burnt. These five managed to survive because Vidura has already managed to send a spy. Prajnaha, Prajna Pralapajnaha, the one who knows the nuances of how to decipher clues. So these five managed to escape. They go to one village called Ekachakra. They stay there for some time. They post themselves as poor Brahmins. They stay there. And on their sojourn back, they get to see a message that there is a Swayamvaram for the princess of Panchala. So these five men go there just as to be a part of the cheerleaders. You know, you'll soon have IPL. So they just wanted to be a part of that with all those colorful papers just flowing up and down. They just wanted to be the cheerleaders. As they go into the court, the arena, the amphitheater where this Swayamvaram was happening, there was a challenge post. So who is the one who could be eligible enough to marry Draupadi? So there was a disc, and to the disc was attached a fish. So the disc would keep going round, and the fish had an eye, and its reflections would fall into the waters in a little pond below. There'll be a bow, there'll be only 5 arrows kept. So the stock is only 5. You have to lift the bow, string it, insert the arrow, look at the reflections of the waters, and then hit at the eye of the revolving fish. If this was the test today, most of them will stay bachelors. So trust me. So it was such an arduous task to marry one lady. I would have given up on life and existence. So everybody tries, they all fail, and then they blame everything possible. If you don't reach the end point, even after putting phenolphthalein, you know, you don't get that 16.3, you can just blame on the pipette and the burette that you have not rinsed them well with sodium peroxide, right? So everybody said, oh, this is not happening, that is not happening. And finally comes Arjuna. And the way he lifted the bow, the way he lifted the arrow, gave the confidence to Draupadi's father that this man is going to be my son-in-law. Because the way you use things, you know, with the ease with which you use, that itself will prove that the dish that comes out is going to be good. Just imagine a person who's cooking for the first time, measuring like 20 grams of urad dal and 5 grams of salt, and then putting them together. You wouldn't want to be the guinea pig. As simple as that. So here, the test was there, and finally Arjuna won, and the father was more than happy finally to get his daughter married off. So then she goes, and then about the tale where Kunti is told that something is brought home. She says, share. She was a social media person of those days. So she said, share. And when she turns back, it is a person in flesh and blood. So who is this? This man says, Mom, I got the daughter-in-law home. You didn't have to release an advertisement in the matrimony stating wheat complexion, ragi complexion, 5'7", clean habits and all of that. I've got a daughter-in-law home and you've said share. The mother said, you shouldn't have treated a lady like a commodity. That's wrong. I forgive you. Theek. Bas khushi ho jao. That's when our rule master comes, Yudhishthira. He will put both the indicator and show his hand. He's that kind of a rule person. So he says, Are Baba, mother's words have to be protected, relished. So she has said share. We need to share. This was such a complicated scenario because how are you going to have like one lady? It's polyandry. How are you going to have like polyandrous relationship? It was going to be very tough. Then Krishna comes and says, as per Article 54F and 94B, it happened in a previous case where Jatila married 7, but Kamalalochana married 10. So it's nothing there, 10 and 7. It's only 5 here you can marry. It's in the decreasing order. And they married. And finally, they were living some kind of a memorandum of understanding they had, MOU signed, and they were living happily. That is when it did happen so that there was this game of gambling. And they lost it, and Draupadi asked them to play again. I'm not getting into the details. So they played again, and then as a punishment, or probably as what was given as a treatment to those who were losing the gambling, 12 years of Vanavasam. And Shakuni was super intelligent. Shakuni was Manthara square and Shurpanaka cube. So his mind was so complicated. He said, let's put a caveat. I'm sure there are some law students here. Now, how many of you are presumably studying law? How many of you are engineers? How many of you are engineers? My heartfelt condolences. So, I am one. So, yeah. So, they happened to go to the forest. This Shakuni had a caveat. He said 12 years of Vanavasam is okay. There should be one caveat. 1 year of incognito, Ajnatavasam. In case during that 1 year somebody finds out their identity, they have to repeat 12 plus 1. It's like the CA courses, you know. You fail one course, you have to repeat the entire thing. You know, at times I give lectures for either the groom or the bride. They will be a CA, chartered accountant. I'll be confused whether I've come for a 60th birthday or for the real marriage. Because by the time they clear that group one after the other, they get very close to 60. But I'm sure those of you who are here are very young and you won't have any arrears. You're all super minds. Nevertheless, so they all go to the forest. That is when Krishna comes and advises Arjuna, you need to equip yourself. Be skilled enough. Don't be stagnant. See, stagnancy will not take you somewhere. You have to keep getting updated. So where do you update? Go to Amaravati, where your biological father Indra is. Get trained under him, learn some missiles from him, and then come back. That will help you someday or the other. He goes. And as he goes to the court of his father, the father says, okay, learn all of this. And then he bequeaths a lot of missiles from him. Astras. And then the father says, my dear son, before leaving, learn dance and go. Arjuna was the macho. He had like those 6 packs, those broad shoulders, everything what the reels of most of these gym going people post on Facebook. So everything was like that. And you imagine Arjuna doing Takadimita. You have to dance to that. So Arjuna was like, really, father, you want me to learn? And Indra said, learn. Father has said something. So he goes to Chitrasena, one of the celebrated dance teachers. He learns dance. The way he danced and the way he learned the nuances of dancing, one of the ladies who was an expert there, called Urvashi, she was enamored. She thought, what is this man? If he is into archery, he's the best. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishnaha, Yatra Partho Dhanurdhara. On the other hand, when he dances, he's getting very close to Padma Subramaniam. He's this good. So she dresses herself up. She's all very well decked. So she puts rollers on, she puts the foundation, she puts the eyeshadow, And then she uses some of the best of whatever is available on the planet to make herself good. Some fillers. So, and then she dresses her up. See, I get reaction only from this side. Dear, I think you, in case you're going to get planning to get married at some point in time in your life, learn all these words. Foundation, filler. Okay. Goda gulfa dharau padau tamnaya tata languli karma prishthanatau chapi shobhete kinkini kinau. So there are verses that describe how she decked herself. Then she dials over intercom and she calls Arjuna and says, Arjuna, can you come and meet me? And Arjuna also decks himself up. So he goes. Urvashi meets him for the first time. Meeting. She says, Arjuna, you are super good in everything. A lot more can happen over a cup of coffee. And thereby she draws a heart and whipped cream, sprinkles some cinnamon powder over it, though there was no star and no bucks about it. So she proposes to him with a knee bent and a solitaire in her hand, with a sound of about 50 violins and 2 cellos coming in the background. She proposes. Urvashi is proposing. Urvashi is proposing, and this was the talk of the town. The media was just focused on them. And this man, he says, thank you, Mata. This was like she had decked herself up. Everything to do with anti-wrinkle treatment was done. How did he find out she's a Mata? That is where Arjuna says, see, yes, I generally don't reject any of the applications that come to me, but you have produced one of my forefathers called Ayus with Pururavas. So in a way, you are actually in relationship, you're like a grandmother to me. She was extremely angry. She said, you, how dare you? You could have just said no. Why all these extra comments? So she curses that he has to be a eunuch. And in his 13th year, this curse which was pronounced on him helps him because he becomes a eunuch called Brihannala. And in the year of incognito, he ends up teaching dance as an art form to the princess of Virata Matsya Desham called Uttara Kumari. It is later when the war is decided on day 1, when he is confused whether to fight his cousins, half-brothers, grandfather, teacher or not. He goes, tells Krishna, Krishna, I don't wish to fight. And Krishna asks, why all of a sudden now? He says, no, they are all like, Yen udambil vodum rattamum, avargal udambil vodum rattamum ondredan. Krishna says, do you realize your blood group only now? You are on the war field, and now you say his is A positive, mine is A positive, I can't keep fighting. Don't give all these Bombay movie dialogues. You have to go fight. And he says, Ratham sthapaya achyuta. Go keep the chariot in the middle of the ground. I need to see both the sides. I will judiciously decide whether to fight them or not. And then he says, I'm not going to fight. That's my uncle. That's my grandfather. He was the one who used to feed me looking at the moon, even if it was a new moon night. So finally, Krishna says, I think you need a treatment. And he starts giving him a lecture. It was called the Bhagavad Gita. He simply asked whether I should fight or not. Krishna explains Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Sharanagati. Arjuna says, finally, I will fight. Stop, Baba. I asked you a simple question whether I should fight or not. You are telling me everything you know. I will fight. So, most lectures are like that. So, he fights. Now you see the process. A person whom we never thought could learn dance, an art form, learnt dance. Through dance, he learnt discipline, because I'm sure those of you who at least have learnt dance or who have people who have learning dance, one thing that comes from learning an art form is discipline. You know what to do when. You know what is your schedule. You know what you have to practice. So it brings a certain regime. It brings a certain rigmarole of activity one after the other. Discipline comes with art. So he learnt dance under Chitrasena. He taught dance. See, when you teach something, whatever little you know you teach, whatever you know gets established well. It's called sthirikaranam. It gets very, very perfect. See, you know something. Let's say you know the Bernoulli's equation. You know the Schrodinger's equation. Suppose, I'm sure some of you may have quantum as a part of your disciplinary courses. You have quantum, so you will be reading Schrodinger's equation, Bernoulli's equation. You'll have tubular. Is there any chemical engineering student here? Nobody. Thank God. Oh, sir. Okay. So turbulent flow, laminar flow, you'll have mass transfer, heat transfer, all of this. Imagine you learn something in your class. You're fairly quite aware of it, what you are. And there's another friend of yours who has never attended the class. Probably that's his regime. So you call that student and say, a friend of yours, and say, can I teach you? And that person agrees to learn it from you with all confidence in you. And you happen to teach that person. Whatever little you have known well gets very well. Because Arjuna learned the dance form from Chitrasena. When he taught Uttara Kumari, that art form got perfected. When art form is learned, practiced, and is getting perfected, he became the recipient of the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. So you learn the arts, knowledge comes after it. Knowledge comes with it. So the topic says Bharata, an amalgam of knowledge and arts. So art form is something that he learned. Knowledge is something that he bequeathed, because both go so beautifully hand in hand. So that's extremely important. Another example that I thought, which I could share with you, is the person who delivered the knowledge to him. In Bhagavad Gita, of course, there are two people, one who asks questions and the other who answers the questions. You cannot end up having two people asking questions. So here is Arjuna asking one question after the other. Here you have one person who's answering those questions in a very diligent fashion. And the person who answers is Krishna. And the beauty of Bhagavad Gita is, you know, in how many of you have, I'm not going to ask more questions after this, simple question. How many of you have learned classical music? I won't ask anything. You just have to raise your hand. You know, the people will be wary of raising their hands. What if he asks me to sing? I won't do that blunder. So how many of you have learned? Okay. See, in music, in Shastriya Sangeetam, you would have at least come across where you are taught the swaram. These are notes. Even if you go to the Western music world, you'll know. Sa re ga ma pa da ni sa. So the first swaram is called Shadjam. Shat in Sanskritam is 6. Shadjam means that note which is the mother of the next 6 notes. Shadjam, Rishabham, Gandharam, Madhyamam, Dhaivatam, Panchamam, Nishadam, and so on. So after you learn these swaras, you learn how to multiply them. There is an art science here. Sasari, sasari, sari, sasari, ri ga ga mama, ri ga ri ga ri ga ri ga ga mama, papa ga ga ma ga ga ma. It's like a Pascal's triangle. How you go step after step. And then you put all these swaras in haphazard fashion. Then you get all these alankarams and geetams. So the first introduction to a music student is geetam. Geetam means music. So Krishna did not say, see, he did not say, Mattaf parataram nanyate kinchidasti dhananjaya. He sang Bhagavad Gita. He sang. How did he sing? How did he know that knowledge? Because he was an artist before. He was a flautist. He learned the art of playing the flute. That gave him discipline, and that became the trigger for him to deliver knowledge. So be it the recipient Arjuna who learned dance form and then bequeathed the knowledge, be it the person who's delivering the knowledge, who's Krishna, who was a flautist, which is an art form, the flute, and then delivered the knowledge. It is a beautiful amalgamation of knowledge and arts. That's it. There is this association that we have with Bharata. Venugopalanji beautifully pointed out the etymological derivation of Bharata. Bha stands for knowledge, and Bharata, when completed, says about the seeker who's very, very thirsty for knowledge, a person who's very interested in knowledge. That is Bharata. This Bharata, you have all these debates that have got politico, religioso, illogical debates. What are those debates? Whether we should call it Bharatam or India, right? Some people will say Bharatam is right. The other, just because that person is saying Bharatam is right, there'll be another section will say India is only right. In my humble opinion, IMHO, both are right. How? There is some way where you are known by yourself. There is a way where others recognize you in a certain way. How many of you can't understand Tamil? Oh, okay. Now I'll come. How many of you who raised your hands understand Telugu? So those people who don't understand Tamil are largely from the Telugu section. Correct? Are there Kannada speaking people here? Idara illi? Telugu varu unnaru. Hindi? Oh, okay. So I'll use English itself now. I thought I'll give an example from the Tamil language. So let me be. We have this practice in our Indian families, especially the tiger moms of India. Inside the house, they will keep rebuking us. You don't study well. You're not studying the way you studied in 8th standard. She used to tell me in 9th standard. She used to repeat the same dialogue while I was in 10th standard. So it means exponentially I've been failing. Because every year if she says this, then there is an Euler law which says that I have to go exponentially down. Then I have to use the Eilate principle of inverse logarithmic, algebraic, trigonometric and exponential, right? When you use a UV rule in integral calculus. So that's the way I have to understand. So mothers do this. Inside the house, they keep telling us, you're not doing this. When she sees an external person, she'll say, I'm really blessed. She'll get teary-eyed. I don't know what kind of punyam I did in my previous birth of being an animal or whatever, that I'm having a child like this. And we will be wondering, are you sure about me? Sometime back, you were in a pinnacle. So it's a very Indian concept that you don't praise yourself a lot within your house, whereas when you go outside, you do. Later came a stage where we became extremely humble, modest. We didn't even go praise ourselves outside. That was a level 2. See, when you go to the US, you have a party. People from various communities, various nationalities come. US is an amalgam, actually an amalgam of different nationalities. You will have a Russian coming in. You will have an Israeli coming in. So everybody will come to your party and you will have made some of the best of the dishes. And you'll present it to them. And they will taste it and say, oh, it's very nice. How did you make it? Just like that. You're very modest. You go to their house. We would have made mixture. I don't know how many of you know about mixture. Not the inorganic wala. In inorganic chemistry, we come across mixture, right? Wo nahi hai. The other mixture, it's called Dashavatara Bhakshanam. Because you have to put bundi, you have to put vomapudi, you have to put kadalai, you have to put fried curry leaves, you have to put some salt, you have to put 10 dishes and make that Dashavataram, and it'll take about 7 to 8 hours to you do all this. You'll be sweating profusely after having done such a lavish dish. Person comes and asks, how did you make it? Just like that. You're not even praising how you did the process. On the other hand, you get ready-made mixture for making pancake. In the US, you just have to put little water and put it on that pan. Whichever shape it comes, it's done. It cooks by itself. It knows about our talent, so it does most of its work by itself. And then there's a maple sugar syrup you pour over it. It's okay. And you go ask that person, how did you do it? He'll say, I just went to the market. I was just hunting for some of the best of the packets. I just found this packet to be the most interesting. I had to cut it open. I took the batter out and I just sprinkled some water over it. I just whipped it and I had to take the pan out. 20 minutes, he gives a description of making a pancake where he did nothing. And the Indian mentality of doing 8-hour mixture, just like that. So second stage where we didn't even praise ourselves. But in the earlier days, there was a way we were recognized. You know, this entire range from some parts of Myanmar, which is Brahmadesham, Arunachal Pradesh, Bhutan, Sikkim, Nepal, Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, Ladakh, Jammu and Kashmir, upper parts of Pakistan, easternmost part of Afghanistan, lower parts of the Central Asian countries like Turkmenistan, Karakoram range, southern part of Tibet. This is called the Himalayan range. It's a very large range. It's called the roof of the world. It's so high. Average height itself is about 7,000 to 8,000 feet. On the other side is China. If somebody goes give this clipping to Xi Jinping, he'll go get angry at me because I've said China is about Tibet. For him, Tibet is a part of China. So let's keep him happy. On the other side is China. And Chinese too had a very rich civilization. Trust me, when you read the Mahabharata in Udyoga Parva, who were the armies who fought alongside Duryodhana? There is a mention, Chinam. China army came for the help of Duryodhana. And when the flag was fluttering high in Kumara Sambhavam, Kalidasa says in the 2nd century AD, how silky was it? Chinam Shukaihi. It is so soft like the silk of China. So we were aware of China. We were aware of a civilization in China. We were aware about the strengths of China. So was the vice versa. People in China were aware of our country. So many scholars wanted to visit our land, but they were not given visa. When I say visa, not us. Those people in China did not allow them to visit. So they had to take the other route via Siberia, come through Central Asian countries, cross the Sindhu River and come. So as they crossed the Sindhu River, they found the average Indian of those days being very intelligent, very quick to understand. So for them, these people, when I say these people, we lived south of the Himalayas. So south of the Himalayas means Himalayas is covered by the snow. It looks white. So it looks like the Chandra, what Shiva adorns. The Chandra, the moon that Shiva adorns, is called Indu. So the pronunciation that was misspelt by the Chinese was Intu. So Intu over a period of time became Indu, which is Hindu. So people who are below the Himalayas, very intelligent. On the other hand, when the armies came from the Mediterranean and the far west and the Middle East, they had to cross a huge river, mighty river called Sindhu. So beyond that Sindhu river were these people. That was the geography. So people who lived beyond Sindhu had to be called by a name. But most of the Persian languages do not have the letter Sa. It will have only Ha. So Sindhu became Hapta Hindu Hindu. So Chinese knew us as people who were intelligent. People in the far east knew us, far west knew us as people who were below the Sindhu. So geographically and etymologically, we were called Hindu. So this Hindu gave the word India. So India is not wrong. Of course, Bharata has a very higher context. In that context, there was a king called Rishabhanatha. Rishabhanatha had many sons. The eldest of them was called Bharata. And this Bharata was not interested much in administration. He wanted to be a recluse, very aloof from comforts. So he leaves his kingdom and goes into the forests. He sits by the banks of river Gandaki, which is in Nepal. As he used to keep meditating, most of the times he was meditating. And he never used to consume anything. Abhakshaha, Vayu Bhakshaha. He used to consume only waters and the air. So there was no proper consumption. He was very conscious about the diet. You know, everybody is conscious. Now you have, though we want to get rid of racism in our skin, we are continuing to be racist in rice. We have brown rice, black rice, white rice. You know, rice has become racist now. And you know, we also have the food that is consumed by the goats. Have you heard of the quinoa? Quinoa? Yeah, quinoa is mostly consumed by the goats of South America. And now we have become goats that way. So, this Bharata was bereft of food and water and he used to keep meditating. One day while he was just incidentally opening his eyes, he spotted a pregnant doe jumping from one boulder to the other because she was being chased by a tiger. As she was jumping right in front of his eyes, one boulder to the other, her pregnant belly hit on the rock. And the little one fell into the waters, incidentally, on a little leaf that was coming by the waters. The doe ran, the tiger ran. This man wanted to protect the little one. He goes and plunges into the waters, takes the little one, and develops her, nourishes her. So this little one grows under the nourishment, the guardianship of Bharata. But over a period of time, this little one, as she becomes big, she leaves this Bharata and goes into the forest. This man was like very bent upon, he had so much of love for the deer, but the deer was not expressing the love back. You know, you remember those days from the movie where he takes and then he goes to the station, Nyabagarka, he takes the pot up and says, do you remember Kanne Kalaimane? This Kalaimane didn't even look back. So he keeps thinking about the deer. And on the verge of the death also, he's thinking about the deer. And there is a belief in the dharma, it's called Tatkratu Nyayam. Whatever you think of, you become that. So he was thinking of the deer. The Atma exited from his body and it entered a doe's pregnant belly and he became the deer. And now this deer had remembrance of its past. See, this is a very unique thing. 1 out of 1,000, 10,000 or a lakh of the people, 1 out of them can manage to remember their past life. The religion calls him Jati Smaraha. Something very interesting. Have you read an author called Dr. Wees? How many of you have read any book that you have learnt about him? Dr. Wees. He was a psychiatrist, a psychologist. Anybody who can quote his book? Try. Okay, please read this book. It's called One World, Many Masters. Many Masters, Many Lives. These are all interesting books you should read. 50, 60 years back, he was a Catholic in the US, if my memory serves me right. There used to be many patients who used to come to him for treatment. One lady came. And looking at her case, this man thought we should put her to hypnosis. So he hypnotized her. And as you hypnotize, whatever you say, they will record because they have to decipher it later. This lady started to speak in some language which this man did not understand. He didn't even know which language she was speaking. So it was being recorded. Then in a few minutes, she would turn to another language. He knew that she's going to another language, but he didn't know what language it was. So every now and then, she used to speak in different languages. It was all recorded. This man, this doctor, had no idea what she was speaking. Then he took all these recorded cassettes. You remember, I'm sure some of you may not even know how cassettes would look. The old cassettes, they used to be like Sudarshana Chakra, they used to be like a Draupadi Vastrapaharanam, the tape used to come out, and then you'll have to fix them up. So here he goes, takes them to linguistic experts and asks them, tell me what these languages are. One says, sir, what she spoke is Swahili. Can you tell me what Swahili is? Swahili. Yeah? Very good. It's an African language. Malaika, Nakupinde, Malaika. It's a very famous song of Swahili. So she spoke Swahili. She spoke Russian. She spoke some language of Southeast Asia. First, the doctor understood these were the 3 languages. Then he had to translate what this lady said. So she was telling, I was like this, I was known by this name, I used to live in this village and so on and so forth. So this man, 60 years back, took a flight journey to all those places she had mentioned. He goes to the village, exactly he knows that whatever details with which she has said, there used to be a woman in that name. So she has been talking about her past lives. That is when this man understood, oh, I thought life was linear. You're born, you're living, you're dead. So there's no question of rebirth. What is this? Then he comes to India and understands that there is a philosophy which says that there is a belief of your past lives. So such people who manage to remember their past lives are called Jati Smaraha. So this Bharata who became the deer, even while being in the body of the deer, managed to remember his past. So he started meditating, and then finally that Jivatma exits the body of the deer and it goes into the body of another person who is very spiritually inclined. So much so that the family thinks he's mad. And the others call him Jadam. So he was called Jada for a reason. And he was called Bharata in his previous life. He became Jada Bharata. And this Jada Bharata is the progenitor of all knowledge systems through his conversation with a king called Rahuguna Maharaja of Sindhu Sauvira Pradesham. And Vishnu Purana states this country is called Bharatam only after that Bharata. So we have such a rich past of knowledge and arts. Finally, the point that comes from the Ramayanam is a very dutiful brother called as Bharata. Bharataya param namostu tasmai prathamodaharanaya bhakti bhajam yadupagnyam asheshatav pritivyam pratitho rangapati paduka prabhavaha, says Vedanta Deshika. If there is one fitting example for bhakti, it is Bharata. Imagine the mother has struggled so hard to indirectly kill her husband to fetch the kingdom for her son. I would have thrown a party for her. I would have said, thank God this man has gone to the forest, I will be the king. But Bharata, on the contrary, said, I will not call you a mother from now on. He goes running to the forest and says, my dear brother Rama, I submit to your feet. Two things. Rama asked, what? Two things. One, me, and second, Ayodhya. Rule Ayodhya and rule me as well. Rama says, so see, this is not possible. I cannot come back. It's just been 2 days since I came to the forest. If I come back, it will be to people in Kali Yuga who go to jail and come back on bail. Right? You would have just thought, this man, for all the blunders he has done, he's going to rot in jail. He'll be back. So Rama says, for 14 years, I'm not going to be back. I love you. Take care. The world is small. Let's stay in touch. Mua. And Bharata says, no, you have to send. That is when Rama, see, he has made a promise. It's a commitment. Ek baar main commitment de diya, to main apne aap ko bhi nahi sunta. That's a famous dialogue, right? So he has given a commitment. For 14 years later, he has to come. See, people often ask me, see, what if Krishna was in Rama's position and he was asked to go for 14 years? Would he have stayed? First of all, he would have not gone. Krishna would have not gone to the forest. He would have sued Dasharatha in the court. So Krishna is very, very practical. So that is why Ramo dharmo vigrahavan. Krishna will say, why should I go to the forest? You have given commitment, you go. He was very realistic. If at all he had gone, he would have stayed for 2 days and would have taken some remote reference from Parashara Horashastra stating that if you live in the forest for 1 day, it is equivalent to 14 years, and he would have come. Very practical person he was. Now, Bharata goes and he says, Rama, come back. Rama says, for 14 years, I can't get back. Bharata insists that you have to come. That is when Rama says, Lakshmana, go get her. Go fetch her. Sita was like, whom is this man talking about? Who is that her? Who is that? She bends into the ashrama. So are all these TV channels zooming in. All live. All channels have gone live. Right from my friend Arnab, who wants to know, along with the nation, everybody is focusing their cameras, because who is that her that Lakshmana is going to fetch? Sita is also, maybe this man is like his father. Ye kaun hai? So as she bends, she cranes her head and to check what Lakshmana is bringing. Bharata is also equally surprised. Who is that her? Because Rama has said, go fetch her. Finally, Lakshmana lands with the padukas, the pair of footwear of Rama on his head. This is hush puppies, right? Why is he bringing a pair of bata and telling her? Because in Sanskrit, every commodity has a gender. So the footwear is called by many names. The famous of it is called paduka. Paduka is Strilingam, so which is she. Right. So they go fetch the pair of padukas. What I would have done, see, just imagine, let's take a very light scenario. There's one of my friends comes and says, just lend me some cash. And I pay him like $1,000 or something. 2 months he has not returned. I just go knock at his door and say, oh, 1,000. Oh yeah, I have to give you the 1,000. See, I just got a pair of Bata slippers. Take that instead. Someone says, we will be mad at him. That's a sign of insult, right? First, he's not paying 1,000, even after reminders, even after gentle and harsh reminders. And then over and above that, the icing on the cake is, he says, take my pair of slippers. That will be like, what do you think of yourself? That should have been Bharata's state. He asks Rama to come. Rama says, I won't. And finally, he ends up giving him one pair of footwear. And Bharata takes it happily. He rubs his tears off and says, thank you. Because when some of your beloved people give you something, however be it, that should be your precious Kohinoor. That's a beautiful sign. See, whenever I used to fall at the feet of my grandparents, they used to give me 1 rupee. Trust me, 1 rupee. I can't even get half of a toffee chocolate. But to me, that 1 rupee matters because that carries the love in them. That is called bhavam, the emotion. There is an attachment to it, ragam. And the rhythm with which that padukas was bought, talam. Bhava, raga, talam is bharatam. So Bharata also signifies the emotion with which you do. So trust me, some of you will be asked this question. What after engineering? Now engineering. What after that? See, it's a very pertinent question. You know, while I was born, my grandmother said, 7 of my cousins were engineers. You should be the 8th. So she decided I have to be an engineer. So I had gone to some other profession. She would have just guillotined me like the days of French Revolution. Second, I became an engineer. During engineering, you know, people ask me, sir, after engineering and then after Indian Institute of Science, how did you become a philosopher? I said, engineering made me a philosopher. So after engineering, you take up another course. You know, people at the end of engineering will decide that मैं engineering के लिए नहीं बना हूं. Then they will do a GMAT. Okay, they'll give a GMAT. Then they will take up an MBA in finance. Bernoulli equation, Schrodinger equation, aap gaya baad mein. So now you go to finance. Then after finance, I understand that I will be very good if I research about the colonial English literature. I take up a PhD. After all this, I will realize that I'll better give upanyasam when I come. So trust me, engineering basics will at least help you give upanyasam. So now on a lighter vein. So what after engineering? What after this? So my humble submission is, whatever little you do, do it with little emotion. That bhavam is very important to be a part, an integral part of Bharatam. Bharatam. That bhavam, that interest, that emotion, that inclination, that affiliation, that penchant that you have for your courses will surely come a long way. You know, I'm actually very elated to be, I said at the start, in one of India's finest universities, so much so. Whenever I travel to the US for lectures, at a stretch of about 50 days, I give about 45, 46 lectures across 10 cities. And invariably, I will have at least a percentage or 2 of my audience who are listening from Shastra. You know, they'll come up and say, I'm from this batch, 2000 batch, you know this, that time we used to have that. And then, so I'm not talking about, oh, if you go only to the US, I'm not one of those kinds of persons. Now, you know, I often tell them, so they say, which do you like, India or US? I say India. Oh, come on, US has the best of the roads. What a massive country. You have the Grand Canyon, you have the Niagara on one side, there's water and there is trees and there is good roads and massive houses. What? You're talking about 25% of the world's GDP is coming from that country and you're saying you like India? I said, yes. That person was flabbergasted. He asked, why? I said, I don't have to wash utensils here. I don't have to wash my clothes here. I have human resources supporting me. I can utilize my time better. If you go to the US, trust me, you have to be the Lakshmana there. You have to wash, you have to cook, you have to eat. Eating is natural, but before that, cooking and later washing. Imagine doing, you will even give up on life. You have to cook, you have to eat, and you have to wash your utensils. Just imagine. So you have to do all of this. Nevertheless, a lot of your alumni who are very successful, they are in the US. So I'm very happy to be in a university whose motto is think merit, think transparency, and think Shastra. So Bharata is an amalgam of knowledge and arts, which I see as a part because you offer courses from law to arts to engineering to MBA, everything here. So I'm indebted to the university. I'm indebted to your chairman. I'm indebted to your vice chancellor, Vaidya. I'm indebted to the dean. I'm indebted to your staff, to your students, to all of you here. So now I open this town hall for questions. So feel free to ask questions. Keep your questions succinct. If I know the answers, I will be elated and happy to give you those answers in a brief manner. Please feel free to ask questions. See, the art of questioning is first, you don't think about what others will think if you ask a question. Let others think of whatever they want about you. If you have a question, feel free to ask.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Kripa Shankar and I'm third year BTech Biotechnology student. I want to ask you two questions. The first is regards that when you're speaking across many platforms, like you're speaking on YouTube, you're speaking at many countries and you're addressing many gatherings. So apart from having the knowledge on scriptures, what other fine tuning did you do in order to be a good speaker, sir?
So one is, thanks, Kripa. So see, the thing is, just because I've taken up to religion or philosophy, it doesn't mean I have to restrict myself only to it. That's my humble submission. I have to be abreast with what is happening around me. Honestly, I watch every series on the OTT platform. How many of you have seen all the 4 seasons of Never Have I Ever? So the Devi Vishwakumar is there. And then, so what I'm trying to say is, how many of you have seen the Squid Game? You're all looking with bloodthirsty eyes at me. I can get your Squid Game. So see, my submission is you have to be aware of, see, I don't come from that school where, people say religious scholars have to get up. I can't look left. I can't look right. I have to behave in a certain way. I have to use certain words. My words have to be, it has to come with a philosophical tinge. I don't believe in so. I believe I have to be abreast. I have to be abreast about my political scenario. I should know about the war between Armenia and Azerbaijan. I should be aware of Russia. I should be aware about the global scenario. So, in my humble submission, it's about knowing your core area, which is philosophy and religion for me in my case. Also knowing about other areas. One. Second, I understand the sensitivities of every region. I should know the lingo that they use. See, for example, if I have to reach out to the youngsters of the US when I have youth sessions, I may not end up using a lot of Sanskrit words because they are as such very away from the country. So I have to be aware of the slang in which they speak. So there is a slang of English in the East Coast of US, like how we have Chennai Tamil, Coimbatore Tamil. You have English of the East Coast, English of the Midwest, and English of the West Coast. So certain words here can't be used there. They will use different words. So I should be aware of those catchwords also. So it's about a lot of things. And finally, a body language. Whenever I give a lecture, I have to keep looking around. Who is listening? Who is not listening? Who is just, slightly dozed away? How do I bring that person back to attention? So I get closer to the mic. That person will immediately wake up. But the person will not be aware that I noticed him. I should not give any clues that I have noticed that person. And a lot of these things, how many of them are looking, how many of them are seated, because might as well sit here for some time and then go. How many of them are actually intent on certain points, their body language, the way they look, the way they clap, the way they react, everything I have to keep noting. So then only every minute I have to modify. See, I don't have a prepared speech. I have to engage you for 1 hour. This is very little. Generally, my lecture every day goes for 2.5 hours continuously. So I give 300 lectures a year. So audience will differ. The time is there. I can't even take a break. I can't even take a bio break. You're getting, I have to control everything. I have to be aware. So I have to be aware of what you are. So a lot of things make up in being a speaker. So it's a lot of reading. It's a lot. I wouldn't say it's an arduous task, but it is a work in progress. That's how I would put it. Your next question, and then I'll go to somebody else.
Sir, my next question is that you have been doing Ramayana for Ram Janmabhoomi till now. So do you have any plans for the future?
Oh, okay. You're talking about my short videos that came on YouTube. So that was like 292 episodes. Right now, I don't have any plans because I'm authoring a part book for HarperCollins. So I have to write 1,20,000 words. So that's at the back of my mind now. Thanks, Kripa. Somebody else? There's a question there.
Good morning, sir. My name
Yeah.
is Surya from MBA.
Oh, hi.
Sir, I would like to get your opinion on the historic moment that has happened in India about the Mahasampraksha of Ram Mandir, irrespective of any religion, of why it is important for all the people. That is, India has a diverse population, and why should it be considered significant to enjoy the moment of this Mahasampraksha of Ram Mandir in Ayodhya?
See, every legendary figure whom we have adored in Bharata Desha has a lot of niceties to them. Rama has his own niceties. Some nice points that we observe of Rama. When Vibhishana from Sri Lanka, our neighboring country, came seeking refuge, Rama first asked the opinion of his coalition partners. Sugriva, Hanuman, Jambavan, what are your opinions? So then finally he says, okay, I heard you all. I respect all your opinions. And my thought is we should accept him. He has come seeking asylum. We have to give asylum to him. He strikes a chord of friendship with Vibhishana and then anoints him as the king of Lanka. See, had Rama thought, he could have annexed Sri Lanka to his kingdom. But he said, let Vibhishana be that king. This is a huge thought about the Bharat psyche. We have never helped. I'm not saying all our kings were all pure souls. We have had our fair share of bad kings as well. But largely the psyche is we generally don't go annex somebody else's property. Sorry to say this, but people who follow the global politics know about what China does. It will always say, I will give you loan. There are about 8 to 9 countries in the list of World Bank which are caught in the debt trap of China. We have helped Maldives. We have helped Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, we have given a credit line of close to $7 billion. Maldives, we have given. But never have we thought we will annex them. We will say, you prepay us in 100 years, interest free. Why the psyche of Bharat is still like that? Because we have had kings like Rama. He said, Vibhishana, you rule Lanka. See, this is a thought process. See, civilization is not about just a temple. It is not about some flag post. It is not about some tower. It's a psyche. I'm not saying all Indians are extremely good. People around us are all bad. No, I'm not coming to that conclusion. But I'm just saying the civilizational psyche. See, we are a population of 1.4 billion. If the census is going to be taken the end of this year, we will be, I'm telling you with confidence, 1.5 billion. 1.5 billion is close to 4.5 times the population of US. The area of India is not even 1/6 of US. Area is 1/6. Population is 4.5 times. See the density of population. See the economic strata. Yes, we are improving in economy, but per capita in the lower ground is still low. There is a significant population whose per capita has to increase. So we are. Despite that, every person had to be given COVID injection twice. When we were not sure whether we will have our own vaccines, whether we will have our dosage, we said we will give you vaccines for free. And to 56 countries, we gave vaccines. This is the psyche of Bharat. See, in contrast, just go to any flight. First instruction, air hostess will say, in case of any scenario, first put the mask to yourself and protect yourself. People on your either side, let them die. See, that's a very Western thought, right? I do it for myself, but that's not been Indian psyche. When Rama left Ayodhya, Lakshmana could have just stayed in his house. Had I been Lakshmana's mother, I would have said, me and you just message Rama, Rama, I love you a lot. Wherever you are, keep your mobile data on. Let's stay in touch. The world is small. Let's keep meeting again. Hope to see you after 14 years. I love you. See ya. I would have said. I would have advised my son. But here, this man leaves his wife Urmila, leaves his parents and says, I want to serve you both. See, the service mentality, helping mentality is a civilizational psyche. It comes in our ATGC. It comes in our DNA. How? Because there is a civilization to the past. If we don't recognize that, see, our civilization didn't begin 500 years back. It is not 1,000 years back. You go to Rakhi Gadhi, you go to Dholavira, you go to all these sites. They say script was there 3,500 years back. 2,200 years back in Purananuru, they say how women used to put oil and plait their hair. We were not the early men era. We were very advanced. See, without advancement in your thought and skills, you could have never constructed temple. See, every kilometer in the Tanjore district, every kilometer, you will have a temple which is thrice the size of Ayodhya Ram temple. In granite, chiseled perfectly. How did they have vernier calipers? How did they even get this perfection? It's not some granular thing. It's perfect. Granite. See, marble is easy. Granite is very tough. How every kilometer you find 273 temples put together an area of 10,500 acres. What are we even talking about? It's a civilization. So Rama's temple, see, it's like the fulcrum. And certain things should not have happened, that happened. But there is a legal procedure towards the end, which it said that through archaeological survey, it was found that there was a temple. So I feel it's a triumph of the civilization and not just about religion. It's more largely the picture of how the civilizational psyche has played a role in this country. So it should be treated that way. It's not a triumph of one religion over the other. There should not be, ideally, there should be no supremacist mentality because India has welcomed other religions with open hands. We may have differences in philosophical tenets, but we have welcomed. And we have had people of all communities rising to positions of chief justice, governor, every position. It's a very unique country. It's a very unique country in a two-nation theory. When you had Bangladesh and Pakistan adopting Islam as a religion, here we said we are still secular because the civilizational psyche itself is to welcome people. But that should never be taken as an advantage. See, what is your strength should never be treated as your weakness. That is also equally important. So my humble submission is, it's a good thought that the temple has come. People have realized, see, finally, I'm not bothered. At least now people have started watching Ramayana videos. So the Ram temple has at least given that little knowledge to know more about the past. Only when you know more about the past, you can correct your future. Without knowledge of the past, you can never have a bright future. So that's my thought. Next question. I'll take 1, 2, 3 more questions and then we wrap it up for the day. Yes.
Greetings, sir. I am Arvind Srikanth from MSc Chemistry, and I used to follow your lectures even in YouTube, and I started it from Chanakya, your interview from Pandeji. I have a question for you. I have done Upanyasam on Dinamoru Tirupavai at Shastra's Ganavarshini YouTube channel. But the way you connect the Upanyasa with the real world example with Flintstone studies, how could you do that? And I am very new to this field. So I don't know how could I enhance other audience. Can I get to know that?
Yeah. So there's no formula for this and there is no paddhati. Like, okay, this is my style. I just feel it's about your character. If your overall character is not to be too much into movies or OTT series, don't be that. You don't have to do that. See, my point is, it's my style of watching and taking examples. I'm not doing it to please the audience because that's how I relate to. So if your overall demeanor is not to be a big fan of OTT series and movies, you don't have to coax yourself to watch them, even if you don't like them, and then do it. So my humble submission is you listen to a lot of styles, listen to a lot of lectures, listen to a lot of people speaking, just not from philosophical area, politicians, watch cricketers, Most cricketers don't speak that well. You will see, art of speaking is not only about listening to good speeches, it is also about listening to bad speeches and understanding how not to speak. See, cricketers are wonderful in cricket, but when they speak, they will never give full stops. As we were playing, you were telling this, I don't know where there's no comma, there's no full stop, this man is just going on and on and on. That's how you have to give full stops every now and then, right? As I was telling, today the ball was pitch was like this, and this was in speaking, you never use so much R's. You have to pause. You don't use But what are we so happy about? At least that man plays good cricket. That's all. So we better not give the mic to that person. That's the lesson learned. So it's about listening, and then you garner a lot of points from there. It comes with practice. That's all. All the best. Next question, somebody there.
Hello, sir.
Oh, hi.
I'm Srinidhi from MBA
Oh,
department.
you're the other Srinidhi.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So my question is, if
MBA in
someone
what?
MBA, I'm in
Are you
first year.
specializing in something?
No, sir.
Or
First year.
specialization comes in second year.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So my question is, if someone wants to know more about the philosophical things, where should we start?
See, reading and listening helps. These are the two things, reading and listening. There are quite a lot of authors, like even Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan has written books, Aurobindo has written books, Chinmayananda has written books, SMS Chari has written books, BNK Sharma has written books, many philosophers who have kind of deciphered it for our understanding in English. There are many in the regional languages as well. And listening helps a lot. You have to listen to a diverse set of people. You should not be, okay, I'll stick only to this, I like only this person. No, you have to listen to a lot of people, and that will help garner. And philosophy is something, I would rather put it this way. It's very interesting to read philosophy, but not that easy to become a part of it and follow it. It comes over a period of time. It does come, but listening and reading helps.
Thank
Yes,
you.
Srinidhi, thank you. You have a
Sir.
question. Hi.
நல்ல லெக்சர் கொடுத்தீங்க சார் பாரதா பத்தி. பட் நீங்க இப்போ இந்த இந்திய பாரதம் எப்படி போயிட்டு இருக்குங்கிறீங்க? 205 கோடி கடன் இருக்கு. இதுக்கு மத்தியில உங்களுக்கு அயோத்தி வேணுங்கிறத நீங்க கேட்டா என்ன சார் சொல்லுவீங்க? 1800 கோடி செலவு பண்ணி இப்ப தேவையாது.
So, for those of you who can't understand Tamil, I will first translate the question. So the question from the student was, India is reeling under debt. In a state of debt, kadan in Tamil means loan. When you have debt, is it pertinent to spend, like say 1,000+ crores on a temple when we already have too many temples? Have I translated your question right? Makes sense, because I had to do that for many of them. తెలుగు వారు ఉన్నారు కదా ఇక్కడ, అతికోసరం నేను ఆంగ్ల భాషలో ట్రాన్స్లేట్ చేశాను, అనువాదం చేశాను. ఓకే, నౌ లెట్స్ అండర్స్టాండ్ దిస్ క్వశ్చన్ ఇన్ పార్ట్స్. There has never been a time period, either in the last 1,000 years of recorded Indian history or of the history of some of the big economies. I'm not taking the small ones like Maldives. Maldives is like, I've been to Maldives, so it's like I walk one Shastra campus, the country's over. That's Maldives for us. So I'm not even taking Maldives. I'm not even taking small countries. The large ones, China, US, UK. So if we look into these economies, there has never been a time period in the last 1,000 years where a country is free of debt. See, it is not an individual pursuit. Remember this. As an individual, we Bharatiyas have this thought, even I have a loan going for my house. So I have an EMI. I have to keep earning for it because every month he's going to cut. Whether I earn or not, he's going to cut. So I will have this thought. So this Indian thought that we should not have. That's why, credit card found it very tough to get into India. Because credit card is something where I buy something with no money in hand. We are never like that. We'll always save money and then buy. So credit card had its own tough period. So as Indians, as individuals, we don't want to have loan, which is a very good thought. That's a good thought. I appreciate that person. But In terms of countries, countries can never be without debt. Because your population is increasing. And when the population increases, there is one communist idea which says that a country can be developed only when everybody is being developed. That's a very wrong thought, because which means you earn tomorrow, as per the communist idea, you cannot buy a phone for yourself because not every Indian has a phone. You have to wait till that bright moment when every Indian has a phone and then only you can buy a phone. That doesn't work. So I buy a phone. I give 500 rupees to my maid servant so that she can put that extra money and buy phone. That is the right idea. To say that I won't have a phone till everybody has it, that ideology or that philosophy doesn't work. So in an aspiring country like India, where you have the demographics increasing, people, 1.5 billion is not a small number. So 1.5 billion is 150 crores. Okay, we are the population of US, Canada, North America, South America, Europe, and parts of Africa put together. 1 in every 5 person in this world is an Indian. That's how you have to equate it. 1.5 billion. If you take the diaspora into account, that's all 1.6. We are such a big population. So, and we have states. We have states which generally do well. We have states which are not that well. So we have to distribute the funds that way, because that's how it is. In such a scenario, states start buying money, borrowing money. When I say India has a debt, of course, the person will be aware of the fact that every state borrows the loan. For example, Tamil Nadu has the highest debt, 7 point so many lakh crores. But we cannot say, okay, stop borrowing, because there is a small laxative given where the states can borrow money. Then how will you fund your people? But each of the states and overall the center, they should come up with plan how to keep this fiscal low. See, I borrow money, I spend money. The difference, I should be very, very careful. I should be very careful. I should not let it go. Veralukku yetta veekam, we say, right? Veengala, but it veralukku yetta alavu irukano. So your borrowing should be commensurate to of your thought process, whether I can fill it up. Over a period of time, I will still have debt. It should not be so high. So the states should also think, the center should also think. But just because we have debt, we cannot stop every process. See, there is one thought in this country. One thought. Let's not construct this because there are poor people. Correct? Now, to construct, that person will ask, okay, I will wait for the poor person to become rich. Tell me that date. If you say that until poverty is there, I will not do anything, then you have to tell the date when that poor person will become rich. That's not the way countries work. That's not the way an intelligent, a Sparsi person looks at things. So it is important that you spend. Point number 1. Second, to the best of my knowledge, the government has not constructed the temple. There is a trust which is being created. Even my trust contributed towards that trust. We have close to 106,000 donors, right from the common man who has donated to the trust. Yes, the trust did bring political people to inaugurate, but the government had no role to play in the money. It was a land which was previously owned, a trust was formed, money was created. See, similarly, you have many projects coming up in Telangana. The erstwhile chief minister, Telugu varu unnaru kada ikkada, Hyderabad students unnara ikkada, Telangana. Yeah, so a new parliament was constructed, right? The legislative assembly was constructed. You had one huge statue of Ambedkar placed near Hussain Sagar Lake. The state government funded it. There are 4 districts in the state of Telangana which are reeling under poverty. So did the chief minister stop? Of course, here there is a plan. See, there are districts like Virudhunagar. There are so many places where there's no water. There's a lot of drought. Thoothukudi has reeling under floods. I don't know if you have read about the news. You saw so many clips. But here the state government has a plan of constructing a huge pen by the marina, right? That the government is constructing. So we cannot keep asking, we cannot say that let Thoothukudi people get all the benefits first, then you construct the pen, right? That's not the way things operate. 2, And the third point, see, how many of you here have taken educational loans? How many of you? Okay. How many of you are being funded by either or both your parents? How many of you are being funded by your parents? Okay. Most of them. Lucky children, lucky parents. Lucky students is fine. I don't know how lucky the parents are because they're spending money. But they are spending money. It's like, see, imagine, you should not think you have not taken educational loan. This is also a loan. I hope you're even able to get that point. Your parents are funding you. It's not your birthright. In the US, at the age of 16, the child is chucked out of the house. Here, till the age of 40, the son or the mother will call. We think it's our birthright that they are funding for us. No. See, they are earning. They are not getting chappad paad ke kuch to nahi aa raha hai. It is not kure pichinda kotradu. So they are earning and they are spending. Now, in a way, that is also debt. Kadan pati pesuron illaya, iduvum kadan da. What is the return on investment for them? See, they are funding for you. Any bank, what will they say? After 2 years of your graduation, you have to pay us this principal amount with so much of interest. I'm sure none of your parents have had such agreements with you, right? And I'm sure none of you have made promises. நீ என்ன நினைக்கின்றாயோ என்னை ஈன்றெடுத்த தாயே என்னை கருவினில் தாங்கினாயே உனக்காக நான் என்ன வேணும் இதெல்லாம் சொல்லிருக்கவே மாட்டோம். We are quite smart. So there is a debt. They are spending for us. There is no agreement. There is no return on investment. So like how our Indian mother thinks, same way Indian government also thinks. I hope I've cleared that question. Next question. Shoot.
I'm Mahalakshmi from second year aerospace.
Oh, you must be super rich.
Okay,
Tell me,
thank
you will become. Yeah.
So, like, I mean, all the questions were like socio-political point of view, but I wanted to get into something that is like scripture based. This is a doubt that I've been having for a really long time. Like, if you take Ramavatar, he's kind of like this Nepo kid who was born in this big Ikshwaku dynasty, and all the compositions or any scripture talks about him as the ideal man. But if you take Krishna Avatar, he has faced a lot of problems right from his birth. He was born in the prison. He faced a lot of ashuras and all that. But when scriptures or prabandhams talk about, he's portrayed as this naughty little kid. But I feel like Krishna is a more matured being than Rama. I just want your thoughts on this.
So I have to only substantiate what you've said because you've already given a conclusive statement that I feel Krishna is more mature. So I have to substantiate what you said. So I'll add more strength to you, Mahalakshmi. So the strength that I'm going to add to you, yes, Krishna did face a lot of turmoil. As a person, if you say on his birth, the day he was actually born in a jail. Nobody on this planet will ever want to fill their application form, place of birth, Mathura jail. That's how his life began. And it was not a very happy thing because, 6 of his predecessor children were dead. Many of the parents don't have a very successful pregnancy. Children are either still or become blue babies or they die. So 6 children were killed. They were killed. The 7th was an abortion. The 8th was the child. And that too, he was born in a jail. The parents were very worried. Oh, this child is born. What if my brother will come and kill this boy? And he had to be shifted for safety. And it was pouring cats and dogs outside. And this man who never knew swimming had to cross the waters of Yamuna. He had to go to another place and keep that child there and swap it with a girl kid. Because if he's not, he'll be accused of female infanticide one day. So he has to swap. He didn't know the exact GPS location. See, he goes to Gokulam. He has never visited that place. And they are full of gullies. You don't know which side to turn. He has to take the right child. He should not take somebody else's child and come. So then this boy comes and he's grown up as a foster kid, an adopted child of these parents. The parents are not aware this is an adopted kid. They think it's their own kid, their own DNA. And every now and then, there are antisocial elements coming into the village, the hamlet, to kill this boy. There is one lady who comes and feeds. She is a lady who is, smeared her bosom with a poison. Then there is another Shakatasura. So everybody, it's like everybody wants to kill this boy. But your question was, with so much of turmoil right since his birth, on the contrary, Rama was a very aristocratic kid, except those 14 years. He was very rich. Why do we celebrate Rama more? There's another reason why we celebrate Rama more. But for Krishna, why don't we celebrate him as a person who has overcome such problems? Why? Because he never felt he had problems. See, that's a very big point, right? See, I should be celebrating my points. Some people, when they speak, they will cry, they will make people cry. I studied. Fine, you've undergone problems. I agree. Your mother is a great sacrificing person. Salute to her, obeisances to her, prostrations to her. I'll fall at her feet. Fine. But on a dais, you cannot get very emotional. That's a big part of public speaking. You cannot emotion which you can never. So Krishna was that. I was born in a jail. He'll say, so what? He was not even concerned. That's why, a lot of people accuse Rama. They'll say he sent a pregnant Sita to the forest. He did Agni Pariksha. He did this. He did 3-4 things. They will question him. Krishna did everything possible. He lied. He stole. He had nobody, because everything suits politicians. They love Krishna to the core. Sami Krishna அப்படி பண்ணாரு, எங்களை காப்பாத்திட்டாரு. So, Krishna never பொருட்படுத்தல. தமிழ்ல சொல்லணும்னா பொருட்படுத்தல. தான் பட்ட கஷ்டங்களை பொருட்படுத்தவில்லை. So when he himself is not, talking about his problems, why should we spend, ஐயோ அவர் ஜெயிலில் பிறந்தாரே, யோ நான் பிறந்தவன் நான், நம்மளே ஒண்ணு சொல்லல, நீ ஐயா இவ்வளவு கவலைப்படுற. So that's Krishna's point. Thanks, Mahalakshmi. So I'll take up one more question and we close for the day. Correct, sir? 12:25 is the vote of thanks. Yeah.
When we go to China, if you pick the topic of China and Amalgam of knowledge, it will definitely start further. So, in management terms, we call it a competitive advantage. How do you
See, this knowledge in arts and amalgam can generally be applicable only for civilizational countries. For example, the United States of America is a nation. It is a country. It is not a civilizational country. There's no civilization to them. Amerigo Vespucci founded. They have Native Americans. They were driven out to Amish counties. The people who set up colonies from Spain, they went to California side. Many French came to the Quebec side of Canada. So all these European colonies went and set up their colonies there. They brought in Africans from the African planet to be made as laborers. In the last 400 years, all this has happened. So this is not one civilization. You bring laborers from one country, colonies come from another continent, then you send the Native Americans to, there's no civilization. Civilizational countries are very few. One is India. We have had a civilization. China has had a civilizational past. A few other countries have had a civilizational past, but they don't have a present. Like, for example, let's say Iraq, Iran, Syria, large civilization, Sumerian civilization, Mesopotamian civilization, Archimede Empire, all this was there. But today the landscape has changed. They themselves don't value those civilizations of their past. அவர்களுக்கே அவர்களுடைய இதிகாசத்தில் பெருமை இல்லை. So if you look at two large economies of the world, number 2 and number 5 today, population of the world, number 1 and number 2, India and China are the only civilizational nations. And your question was, today I'm speaking about India. What if China was there? To a Chinese, a normal Chinese, for them, they will value their civilization and knowledge. But the way they project it, their civilization and their thought process has always been to acquire power as much as us. But it was through any means. For us, it was not through any means. So we have the Samadana Bheda Dandam in negotiation skills. Do you have a course of negotiation skills in MBA? Which semester? I don't know, 1 or 2 it will come. So when you deal with negotiation skills, you will have mergers and acquisitions that happen in companies. Some will ensure whichever way I will manipulate and buy. That's one ethics. There's another company which will say, let's go the legal route, right route. Both of them will be successful. But it is for the listener to discern and decipher which is applicable to them. Just because China has a civilization, it doesn't mean that everything in that civilization is right. So they will value their knowledge, they will value their art forms, they will value their civilization, but on a very realistic, moral, ideal scale, whether all the methods that they have adopted is right or wrong is a question. They have the right to talk about the topic, but I'm not sure whether they can discern about it. Yeah, thank you. So I take leave of all of you for having spoken to you for, like, say, an hour plus 15-20 minutes. Thank you so much for your patient listening. And again, as stated at the start, an honor to be in this university premises, an honor to have known the management committee, your board members, the people who are a part of your teaching and non-teaching staff, and of course your students. Have addressed your university 4-5 times in the past, in 2014, 15, 18, 19, I think. It's after a huge hiatus and sabbatical that I'm coming after 5 years here. Of course, we had a well-known pandemic. What is that? Naduvula konja pakkam kaanam. Lot of things happen in the 5 years. I'm back, very proud to be in this campus. And thanks once again for the patient listening. I'm sure there will be 1 or 2 takeaways. Please do share it with your parents. Tell them that they have funded you and you have a debt towards them, and there will be a return on investment for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dushyanth, for the very wonderful lecture. I'm sure the purpose of this lecture has really been achieved. Today we are here on the 6th Cho Ramaswamy Memorial Lecture. I don't know how many of you, the youngsters who are sitting here, are aware about Mr. Cho Ramaswamy. I'm sure that the seniors who are sitting may all know very well. He was a shaker and mover of Tamil Nadu politics, at least at national level also he played a very crucial role. If you look at in 1996, he ensured that there is a alliance between DMK and Tamil Maanila Congress, and he made Rajinikanth to speak in favor of the alliance and change the Tamil Nadu government. Similarly, in 1999, he arranged a tie between DMK and BJP. In 2011, he arranged for an alliance between DMDK and ADMK also. In 2014, he made a big campaign for Modi. Why I'm saying, whatever the interest of people, for the interest of the Tamil Nadu people, he has significantly contributed. A political strategist, a film director, a comedian, a drama artist, a great journalist, brilliant speaker, a thought leader, a fearless personality in this country. In his memory only today, we arranged this 6th memorial lecture, and Mr. Dushyanth has done a great justice by his excellent, fantastic. There are no words to explain. I've also listened many times his lecture and also in the YouTube also. I was wondering as how this man, அவர் எப்படி டைம் கிடைக்குது, சில பேர் கூட யார் கேட்டீங்க, எப்படி டைம் கிடைக்குது, எவ்வளோ படிக்க முடியும், ஒரு நாளில் 20 மணி நேரம் படித்தா கூட இப்படி பேச முடியாது. It's so difficult. So reading so many things and so many subjects, you can see that he was talking engineering, he was talking about management, he was talking about Telugu, Kannada, everything. இது வந்து how it is possible னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, at the age of 5, his parents sent him for learning Veda and Shastras. From the age of 5, now he is 38 years old. From the age of 5, for 33 years, he is reading all those things. So the continuous learning, somebody asked, எப்படி உங்களால் அப்படி பேச முடியுது அப்படி கேட்டாங்க. Continuous learning. ஒரு முறை பீத்தோவானை கேட்டாங்க, நீ எப்படி பீத்தோவான், you know the god of music. அதை கேட்டபோது அவர் சொன்னார், 30 வருஷமா டெய்லி 15 மணி நேரம் நான் பியானோ வாசிக்கிறேன்னு சொன்னார். That's how he become a great. அதனால ஹார்ட் ஒர்க், அந்த ஒரு இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட், பேஷன். As it was introduced by Professor Venugopal, he was a student of Bismillani, a BTech chemical. இன்னொருத்தர் கூட கேட்டார், எப்படி ஆடியன்ஸ் அட்ராக்ட் பண்றீங்க? பிகாஸ் being a chemistry student, you know the chemistry of the audience also, not only the BTech biochemistry or chemistry. And he knows how to speak. நேற்றுக்கு ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் சென்னையில சாஸ்திரால பேசினார். 1 மணி நேரத்துக்கு முன்னாடி ஆடிட்டோரியம் வாஸ் ஃபுல். சென்னையில துஷ்யந்த் பேசுறாருன்னு சொல்லி சொன்னா 2 மணி நேரத்துக்கு முன்னாடியே அத்தனை பேரும் வந்து உட்காந்துருப்பாங்க. அப்படி ஒரு prolific speaker, and we are so happy and proud that he has accepted to come and speak. அதே மாதிரி மிஸ்டர் சோ ராமசாமியுடைய பேர் லெக்சர்ல பேசுறதுக்கு இஸ் அ மோஸ்ட் அப்ராப்ரியேட் பர்சன். மனசுல உள்ளதை தைரியமா சொல்லணும், ஒரு கன்விக்ஷனோட சொல்லணும்னா அது இட் ரிக்வயர்ஸ் எ ஸ்பெஷல் ஸ்கில். 2-3 விஷயத்தை மட்டும் நான் சோ சாரை பத்தி சொல்லிட்டு ஐ ஜஸ்ட் வாண்ட் டு சே a big thanks to every one of you for making this event very successful. பாத்தீங்கன்னா நம்முடைய when சோ பொறுத்த மட்டும் தான் நினைக்கிறத தைரியமா எழுதுவார், பயப்படவே மாட்டார். He never spared any politician in India. அது ஈவன் ரூலிங் பார்ட்டியா இருந்தாலும் சரி, அவர் சப்போர்ட் பண்ற பார்ட்டியா இருந்தாலும் சரி, அப்போசிஷனா இருந்தாலும் சரி, தைரியமா அவங்கள பத்தி கிரிட்டிசைஸ் பண்ணி பேசுவார். சரியா இருந்தா பாராட்டுவார். அதுக்குதான் இந்த எக்ஸாம்பிள் சொன்ன பொலிட்டிக்கல் ஒரு ஆட்சியை தமிழ்நாட்டில் கொண்டு வரதையோ அதை நேரில் வரமாட்டார். ஆனா பின்னாடி இருந்துட்டே ஒரு தமிழ்நாட்டுடைய என்டையர் பாலிடிக்ஸ் அவர் மேனேஜ் பண்ணியிருக்காரு. ஒரு முறையோட விளையாட்டா கேட்டாங்க, ஒரு இந்த பெரிய அலையன்ஸ் ஏற்பட்டு தமிழ்நாட்டில் ஆட்சி மாற்றம் ஏற்பட்ட போது, சார் நீங்க தான் பெரும்பங்கு வகிச்சிங்களாமேன்னு கேட்டபோது சொன்னார், தமிழ்நாட்டில் எது நடந்தாலும் என் தலையை உருட்டுறாங்க, பிகாஸ் உருட்டுறதுக்கு ரொம்ப ஈஸியா இருக்கு, என் தலை அப்படி இருக்குன்னாரு. ஏன்னா அவர் தலையில முடி இருக்காது, பால் மாதிரி இருக்கும். அதான் சொன்னார், ஈஸியா என் தலையை உருட்ட முடியும்ன்றனால எல்லாரும் ஏன் தலையை உருட்டுறாங்கன்னு சொல்லி சொன்னார். இன்னொரு இஸ் எ கிரேட், ஒரு தமிழ்ல சொல்ல போனா அரசியல் தீர்க்கதரிசி. நீங்க நம்ப மாட்டீங்க, உங்களுக்கு எல்லாம் தெரியாது, ஏன்னா நீங்க பிறந்து கூட மாட்டீங்க. நம்ம எமர்ஜென்சி வர்றதுக்கு முன்னாடியே இந்தியாலேயே முதல்ல துக்ளக்ல ஒரு கார்ட்டூன் போட்டாரு, அவர் அட்டைப்படத்துல போட்டாரு. அப்போதைய காங்கிரஸ் எதிர்கட்சி தலைவர்கள் எல்லாம் ஜெயிலில் இருக்கிற மாதிரி ஒரு படம் போட்டார். மொரார்ஜி தேசாய், கிருபலானி, ஜெயபிரகாஷ் நாராயண் எல்லாரும் ஜெயிலில் இருக்கிறதா. அப்போ கூட எல்லாரும் சொன்னாங்க, ஷோ ரொம்ப ஓவரா கற்பனை பண்றாருன்னாங்க. அவர் எதை கற்பனையா விளையாட்டாக படம் போட்டாரோ அதுதான் பின்னாடி எமர்ஜென்சி வந்துச்சு. எமர்ஜென்சி வந்த போது ஒரே ஒரு பத்திரிகையோட விளம்பரத்தை மட்டும்தான் சென்சார் பண்ணாங்க, அது துக்ளக்குடைய பத்திரிகை மட்டும். அது மாதிரி எமர்ஜென்சி முடிச்சதுக்கு அப்புறம் துணிஞ்சு தைரியமா அவருடைய அட்டை படத்துல எந்த படமும் போடாம பிளாக் கலர் அட்டை போட்டு இன்னைக்கு துக்ளக்கு வெளியிட்டாரு. எல்லாரும் பயந்த காலத்துல இந்திரா காந்திட்டே போய் சொன்னாங்க, உங்களை பத்தி கண்ணாப்னான்னு எழுதுறாரு இந்த ஆளு, காங்கிரஸ் ஏத்து அப்படி சொல்லி மதுரைக்கு ஒரு தடவை வந்த போது இந்திரா காந்திட்ட கொண்டு போய் அவருடைய கொண்டு போய் கொடுக்குறாங்க, இந்த பாருங்க உங்களை எப்படி கேவலமா கார்ட்டூன் போட்டிருக்காருன்ட்டு. அந்த கார்ட்டூனை பார்த்துட்டு இந்திரா காந்தி அப்படி விழுந்து விழுந்து சிரிச்சாங்களாம். கன்வே மே ரிகார்ட்ஸ் டு சோன்னு சொன்னாங்களாம். அப்படி தன்னை எதிர்க்கிறவங்களை கூட கிரிட்டிசைஸ் பண்றவங்க கூட விளையாட்டுத்தனமா சொல்லி அவங்களையும் சிரிக்க வச்ச ஒரு மாபெரும் மனிதர் அவர். He has acted in 200 filmsல நடிச்சிருக்காரு. அப்படி ஒரு பியூட்டிஃபுல் காமெடியன். இப்ப அவர் இறந்ததுக்கு அப்புறம் கூட இன்னைக்கும் கூட துக்ளக்ல ஆண்டு விழா சென்னையில நடக்கும், பொங்கல் அன்னைக்கு சாயங்காலம். நம்ப மாட்டீங்க, சென்னையுடைய அத்தனை லைட் பீப்புள் அங்க போய் உட்காந்துருப்பாங்க, இன்க்ளூடிங் அவர் சான்சலர், வைஸ் சான்சலர் முதல் லைன்ல உட்காந்துருப்பாங்க பாத்தீங்கன்னா. ஸோ அப்படி ஒரு ஃபேன்ஸ் அவருக்கு. அவர் இறந்ததுக்கு அப்புறம் கூட இன்னைக்கும் கூட அவருடைய மெமரி உண்மையாலும் பாராட்டத்தக்கது. நிறைய விஷயம், ஒரே ஒன்று மட்டும் சொல்லலாமான்னு எனக்கு தெரியல, பட் ஐ வாண்ட் டு சே தட் நமக்கு இந்த பிஎட் கோர்ஸ் ஆரம்பிச்ச போது ஒரு சின்ன சேலஞ்சு வந்துச்சு. ஒரு அப்ரூவல் இதெல்லாம் பிரச்சனை வந்த போது நம்ம துக்ளக்ல நம்ம சான்சலர் அவர்கள் ஒரு ஆர்டிக்கல் எழுதினார் அந்த சம்பவத்தை பற்றி. அப்போ இருந்த நம்முடைய ஆட்சிய முதலமைச்சர் அந்த ஜெயலலிதா அவர்கள் அந்த துக்ளக் ஆர்டிக்கலை பார்த்துட்டு ஃபேக்ஸ் கொடுத்து சாஸ்திராக்கு அந்த பிஎட் அப்ரூவல் ப்ரோக்ராமை கொடுத்தாங்க. அந்த ஒரு ஆர்டிக்கல் இன் துக்ளக் ஹஸ் மேட் இட். ஸோ அவ்வளோ பவர், அவ்வளோ ரெஸ்பெக்ட். இன்னொன்று எதிர்க்கக்கூடிய ஈவன் அப்போசிஷன் லீடர்ஸ் கூட, அது டிஎம்கே இருந்தாலும் ஏடிஎம்கே இருந்தாலும் எந்த கட்சியா இருந்தாலும் தமிழ்நாட்டில் அத்தனை பேரும் சல்யூட் பண்ணுவாங்க சோவை. அப்பேற்பட்ட ஒரு சிந்தனையாளர், எழுத்தாளர், ஒரு சினிமா டிரெக்டர், ஒரு ஆக்டர். ஒரு வகையில துஷ்யந்த் ஆல்சோ ஏ சினிமா டிரெக்டர். அவர் தேவதான் தேசிகன் பத்தி ஒரு படம் எடுத்திருக்காரு, அதுல அவரே நடிகராகவும் ஆக்டரா ஹீரோவாகவும் நடிச்சிருக்காரு. He is also writing books. He is having many facets of what show is also having. So I am very, very fortunate. Thank you very much, Mr. Dushyanth, for your wonderful lecture. Thanks to Mr. Professor Venugopal for the Department of Sanskrit for wonderfully organizing. Above all, we all are very grateful to our Chancellor and Vice Chancellor for organizing such interesting programs at Shastra. ரெகுலரா கெமிஸ்ட்ரி, நாங்களும் டெக்னாலஜி, மேனேஜ்மெண்ட், ஃபினான்ஸ் எல்லாம் கேட்டு உங்களுக்கு போர் அடிச்சு போயிருக்கும். இதெல்லாம் ஒரு வித்தியாசமான விஷயங்கள், இதுவும் ரொம்ப ரொம்ப தேவை. வாழ்க்கைன்றது ஒன்றும் வெறும் படிப்பு மட்டும் கிடையாது, டிகிரி மட்டும் கிடையாது. யூ வாண்ட் நாலேஜ் ஆன் எவ்ரிதிங். அதுக்கு இந்த மாதிரியான லெக்சர்ஸ் எல்லாம் ஆர் வெரி வெரி யூஸ்ஃபுல் டு யூ. ஸோ தேங்க்ஸ் டு சாஸ்திரா மேனேஜ்மெண்ட், தேங்க்ஸ் டு ஆல் த ப்ரொஃபசர்ஸ், டீன்ஸ் அண்ட் ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் for making this event and all the non-teaching staff for making the event very, very successful. Thank you all. Kindly rise up for the national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंधु गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल भंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जाहे तव शुभ आशीष माहे गाये तव जय गाता जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे